SSD, yes. Mechanical hard drive.
Retro unboxing.
Hello viewers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jonathan, thanks for watching. Today I wanted to set out to prove to myself that installing an SSD into an Xbox One X is absolutely the right thing to do. So what I wanted to do was effectively just test a bunch of different methods of loading games and getting games onto an Xbox One X and onto your screen to play on. So what I've done is various tests. I've included my Xbox with the SSD already in it. I've picked up this Project Scorpio that's still got its mechanical hard drive in it, so I've used that. I've used then various external SSDs and an external mechanical hard drive. So what I did in the first place was decide on using Red Dead Redemption. The reason for that is it's a 100 gigabyte game, and then it's a 2-minute or so load time from scratch. So that seemed to be the best game to use. I was going to use GTA 5, but I've been getting back into Red Dead recently, so I've used that. So the first thing I did was test two things. One was the Scorpio, which has got its original mechanical hard drive, and the results with that were pretty much as expected. It took a couple of minutes to load from scratch. The next thing I did was test the Xbox One X with the SSD in it, and that loaded in a very, very respectable 1 minute 30 something. And then I tested each of these external drives. So first and foremost, that was a normal laptop-y type hard drive, very much like the one that you would find in an Xbox One X. That actually was specifically the one that was in my Xbox One X, but for whatever reason I couldn't get to format it. And that was in this little USB 3 caddy type thing, and it just connects to the Xbox via a cable. I'm going to put the results within the video so you'll see how that gets on. It's not great. The biggest problem I had with the mechanical hard drive in the external caddy was that it actually took nearly 2 hours to transfer the game from the Xbox onto the mechanical drive to then test the load time. The load time was actually quite reasonable, but 2 hours to transfer onto this drive was a pile of shit. In comparison, every one of these hard drives transferred from the Xbox with the SSD internally onto the external SSD within around 11 minutes, which is effectively the kind of limit of USB 3. So that was that. The next one I actually used this caddy again was because I'd got another 2.5 inch drive. This is a Radeon SSD. It's a 480 gigabyte SSD, and to be fair, this has been well used. This was being used in my media server as the main drive, and I recently just upgraded that to a slightly bigger drive, so this was just knocking around spare, and it did really well. It took about 30 minutes to get the game onto this drive, but to be honest, I think it may be the USB 3 connection on this is maybe just not as fast as some of the newer drives and some of the external SSDs. So that's those two. I was really pleased with that because ultimately these things are really cheap. They're really easy to pick up. So that's those two. The next one, and I've had this for quite a while now because I obviously do a lot of editing on my Mac. Macs obviously don't have massive hard drives. They all have super fast SSD, but not particularly big. So I actually use this for editing, and Final Cut Pro loves it. You can just move everything that you've filmed onto this SSD, connect it via USB-C/Thunderbolt, and it's really good. I mean, it says on the box here 515 megabytes per second read and write speed, and I did some disk tests on the Mac, and they were all excellent. They're all 400 megabytes, 500 megabytes a second read and write speeds. So, you know, there's a conclusion to this video towards the end, and I'll tell you exactly what my overall thoughts were. So that's that one. That was about £80, which again I think is pretty good. The next I tested was the proper official Seagate Xbox game drive, and this is the 0.5 terabyte, so 500 gigabytes. And again, this was really quick, about 1 minute and 35, 1 minute and 40 seconds. You'll see it in the video. I just can't remember off the top of my head as I'm saying this. So yeah, I mean, as you would think, it was really impressive. When I did the test on the Mac, the read and write speeds were really impressive, as you would absolutely hope them to be. It doesn't actually tell you what read and write speeds to expect on the box, but with the Blackmagic benchmark test, it was around 500 megabytes read and write. So that was that one. And then you may remember this. This was the drive that I had originally intended to put into my Xbox. I couldn't do it because I couldn't find the right adapter. So instead of trying to send it back or whatever, I thought I'll pop it into this little USB-C dock, caddy, whatever you want to call it, and again use it with the Mac for editing, etc, etc. So I thought, well, I will chuck this into the test and see what happens. So basically this is a 1 terabyte NVMe M.2 PCI Express SSD, right? And it's brilliant. It's really quick, and I've now put it into this little thing, and I connect it via USB, and I get some really excellent speeds on the Mac, up to 1,000, 1,300 megabytes per second read and write, which is wicked. I was expecting this to actually win out over the other drives in terms of how quickly it loaded the games on the Xbox One X, but it really didn't make too much difference. Again, I think we're effectively exploring the absolute limits of USB 3 and the Xbox. So again, I will conclude shortly, but effectively it was about the same in terms of loading Red Dead Redemption 2 from this drive into the Xbox. It was roughly the same as all of these other external SSDs. So the conclusion really is, I don't think it matters what SSD you use. If you're going to buy an external drive, you can pretty much get away with a mechanical drive, but you're not going to see any speed boost whatsoever. In fact, it's a little bit slower. If you want to get an SSD, you have options. There are hundreds and hundreds of SSDs available to buy online really cheap. And that's what it comes down to. And that's why I find it very difficult to separate these drives. Effectively, this you can buy for about 70 quid. And it's a 500 gigabyte SSD, and it's as quick as all the others. So that's pretty cheap. This I couldn't really recommend unless you very specifically wanted the overall matching look of the kind of matte black and the Xbox logo. That is pretty much the only reason why you would buy that one over any of the others, because this one's about £130 and it's no quicker. I think when I say it's no quicker, I think it ended up being 1 second quicker. But I've got a feeling that if I ran that same test multiple times, I'd get different results each time. So I can't really recommend the Seagate drive over the others. The Radeon, again, these drives are pretty cheap, but you do need to then buy a kind of a caddy to put it in, something like that, that you can then plug into the Xbox. And then you need to be a little bit more careful because you need to absolutely have the right cable. If you're going to do this, make sure that you're using a USB 3 cable. You'll pretty much know that it's a USB 3 cable because the little plastic insert on the inside there will be blue. So it really comes down to cost. At the minute, and this is why I was trying to do this with the internal install, was because you can buy a 512GB version of this SSD for 50 quid off of Amazon at the minute, and then you just need a little 20 quid thing to install it in, and then it's just useful and it's future proof. So the next thing I'm actually going to do is test this on the Xbox Series X and see if I can get some decent speeds through USB 3.1. So the 1TB version of this is about 90 quid. The half a terabyte version is about 50 quid. So that has to be the winner. Second is the WD My Passport, but in all honesty, just literally find the cheapest external SSD that you can find. Doesn't matter what it is, it's going to be a performance upgrade over your mechanical hard drive if you don't wish to put an SSD inside your Xbox One X. So that's the findings. I mean, it's not massively scientific. I've done like a day or two's worth of testing, and that is absolutely my conclusion. SSD, yes. Mechanical hard drive, forget it. Get rid. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.
Retro Unboxing.